phrase and cover a big span of, and you're like, wait a minute, I wish I had more details. And then sometimes he slows down and gives you a lot of details, which in this situation shows us so much about himself. There is a big interlude that goes on here in the rest of chapter 5 that spills over into chapter 6. Now the first part here at the end of chapter 5 is Haman. And the first thing I want you to see in verses 9 through 12, this is a very self-absorbed, self-important individual. He starts off, and it's a great day. But the problem is, like most unsaved folks, there is a difference between joy, which is unconditional, and happiness, which is based on circumstances. And so even though it says that Haman went forth that day joyful and with a glad heart, it was very much dependent on the circumstances that were going on around him. If you've ever heard of the musical Oklahoma, they're rolling along and that guy singing, oh, what a beautiful morning, oh, what a beautiful day, I have a beautiful feeling, everything's going my way. That's what Haman's singing on the way to the palace. I mean, everything in his heart is, and he thinks everything is just lining up. He's got the edict signed, and now he gets to go to this special banquet, and the only two people invited to the Queen's banquet are the king and the prime minister. Can you imagine? I mean, this poor guy is floating on cloud 9. Word joyful means merry and rejoicing and glad heart. There's a lot of words that can be used to describe glad: good, beautiful, best, cheerful, at ease. And I like all of them together because when you have a glad heart, that's the feeling that comes. And he's leaving the banquet, he's getting ready to head home, and he's singing his Oklahoma song that hasn't been written yet. Maybe he wrote it and somebody else stole it. We'll have to talk to him about that. And everything's going his way. And he is living on cloud 9, and then he gets out to the gate to head out of the gate and go home. And you know what happens? It was a great day until it wasn't, which tells us that it's not true joy. It was just happiness based on circumstances. He's walking out the gate, and whom does he see but his absolute favorite person, Mordecai? And what's really interesting about this verse is there is a change in Mordecai's behavior. Because before the proclamation, it just said that Mordecai,